Well, good morning, YouTube. I'm out here at one of my favorite spots. So I'm going to read perhaps from several books. We'll see how far this video goes. Not too much here is mapped out, but this book is 1,000 Mornings, Poems by Mary Oliver. You'll have to excuse me, but yeah, there's mosquitoes out here, so I'll probably have to swat them. So I'm going to read from page 41, I think it's poem 6. The resurrection of the morning, the mystery of the night, the hummingbird's wings, the excitement of thunder, the rainbow in the waterfall, wild mustard, that rough blaze of the fields, the mockingbird replaying the songs of his neighbors, the bluebird with his unambitious warble, simple yet sufficient, the shining fish, the beak of the crow, the new colt who came to me and leaned against the fence, that I might put my hands upon his warm body and know no fear. Also the words of poets, 100 or hundreds of years dead, they're words that would not be held back. And let's go on to read poem 7. Making sure I'm recording. Oh, the house of denial has thick walls and very small windows, and whoever lives there, little by little, will turn to stone. In those years, I did everything I could do, and I did it in the dark. I mean, without understanding. I ran away again. Then again, I ran away. They were awfully little, those bees, and maybe frightened, yet unstoppably they flew on somewhere to live their life. Hum, hum, hum. Well, let's see what else we got here by Mary Oliver. I think I've already read that one. I'm just kind of thumbing through here. The Gardener, page 7. Have I lived long enough? Actually, that's not what it says. The Gardener. Have I lived enough? Have I loved enough? Have I considered right action enough? Have I come to any conclusion? Have I experienced happiness with sufficient gratitude? Have I endured loneliness with grace? I say this, or perhaps I'm just thinking it. Actually, I probably think too much. Then I step out into the garden, where the gardener, who is said to be a simple man, is tending his children, the roses. I know I've read this before. I almost said tending his chickens again. Then I step out into the garden, where the gardener, who is said to be a simple man, is tending his children, the roses. All right. I have read this one before, but I think I'll read it again. I go down to the shore. I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out, and I say, oh, I am miserable. What shall I do? And the sea says, in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. So, and there's another book, Mary Oliver Devotions. Wow, there are lots of mosquitoes here. Now I know I've read of the Empire before. I know that's in here, but I don't know if I can find it now. So, of the Empire. Well, maybe you can look that up in my other YouTube video, because I did a pretty good job reading that. I would like to read it again sometime. I don't even know what page it's on. Let's read this one, page 191. Just as the calendar began to say summer. And that is true. It's getting kind of close, I think. So it's May 11th right now, 2025. Just as the calendar began to say summer, I went out of the schoolhouse fast, and through the gardens and to the woods, and spent all summer forgetting what I'd been taught. 2 times 2 and diligence and so forth. How to be modest and useful and how to succeed and so forth. Machines and oil and plastic and money and so forth. By fall I had healed somewhat, but was summoned back to the chalky rooms and the desks to sit and remember the way the river kept rolling its pebbles, the way the wild wrens sang though they hadn't a penny in the bank, the way the flowers were dressed in nothing but light. That's pretty cool. Making sure that's the end of the poem. So the next page is 192. Can you imagine, for example, what the trees do, not only in lightning storms or the watery dark of a summer night, or under the white nets of winter, but now and now and now, whenever you're not looking? Surely you can't imagine just stand there looking the way they look when they're looking. Surely you can't imagine they don't dance from their root up, wishing to travel a little, not cramped so much as wanting a better view, or more sun, or just as avidly more shade. Surely you can't imagine they just stand there loving every minute of it. The birds or the emptiness, the dark rings of the year slowly and without a sound thickening, and nothing different unless the wind, and then only in its own mood, comes to visit. Surely you can't imagine patience and happiness like that. Softest, that wasn't such a soft entry into that poem. That's okay. Softest of Mornings. Softest, I'm struggling here this morning a little bit. Softest of mornings, softest of mornings, hello. And what will you do today, I wonder, to my heart? And how much honey can the heart stand, I wonder, before it must break? This is trivial, or nothing, a snail climbing a trellis of leaves, and the blue trumpets of its flowers. No doubt clocks are ticking loudly all over the world. I don't hear them. The snail's pale horns extend and wave this way and that as her finger body shuffles forward, leaving behind the silvery path of her slime. Oh, softest of mornings, how shall I break this? How shall I move away from the snail and the flowers? How shall I go on with my introspective and ambitious life? All right. Is there anything here from Redbird? Now, the selected poems, some of Redbird was in that selected poems, but this is Redbird here, but I'm probably more of a silhouette, maybe. I'm not sure exactly. I do have it on a setting where it's kind of like an HDR, so maybe it'll pick up some of me beyond my silhouette. I'm not sure. just like to thumb through as quickly as I can, and it's like yay or nay. And there's some stuff in here about winter, but we're definitely past that season now. When I cried for help. That's page 62 from Redbird. When I cried for help. Where are you, angel of mercy? Outside in the dusk among the flowers? Leaning against the window of the door? Or waiting half asleep in the spare room? I'm here, said Angel of Mercy. I'm everywhere, in the garden, in the house, and everywhere else on earth. So much asking, so much to do. Hurry, I need you. I will try. I will try, page 75. I will try. I will step from the house to see what I see and hear what I will... Let me just, if you would, excuse me, and I'll just start over. I don't know if it's the caffeine tripping me up or what. I did have a few sips of coffee. Yeah, that mosquito flew, tried to fly right in my ear. That was not pleasant. I will try. I will try. I will step from the house to see what I see and hear, and I will praise it. I did not come into this world to be comforted. I came like Redbird to sing. But I'm not Redbird with his heap mop of flame and the red triangle of his mouth full of tongue and whistles. But a woman, but in this case a man, right? I'm a man. But a woman whose love has vanished, who thinks now too much of roots and the dark places where everything is simply holding on. But this too, I believe, is a place where God is keeping watch until we rise and step forth again. But wait, be still. Listen. Is it Redbird or something inside myself singing? And in this place, there literally is Redbird singing, the cardinal. I know I've heard the cardinal out here. I think even this morning. But I do admit I'm getting kind of accustomed to his song, but I shan't do that. I shall always appreciate the song of the cardinal. Someday, and this is from page 77, someday, even the oldest of the trees continues its wonderful labor. Hummingbird, speaking of hummingbird, I had my first sighting this year, yesterday. Hummingbird lives in one of them. He's there for the white blossoms and the secrecy. The blossoms could be snow with a dash of pink. At first the fruit is small and green and hard. Everything has dreams, hope, ambition. If I could, I would always live in such a shining obedience where nothing but the wind trims the bows. I am sorry for every mistake I have made in my life. I'm sorry I wasn't wiser sooner. I'm sorry I ever spoke of myself as lonely. Oh, love, lay your hands upon me again. Some of the fruit ripens and is picked and is delicious. Some of it falls and the ants are delighted. Some of it hides under the snow, and the famished deer are saved. Excuse me, if I have a voice left, I'll continue to read a few more words here. And I might even move on to Simone Weil. But that's kind of detailed work there. But let's read one more poem here from Redbird, Poems by Mary Oliver, page 78. Redbird explains himself. Let's see if I can move the microphone just a touch there. Redbird explains himself. Yes, I was the brilliance floating over the snow, and I was the song in the summer leaves. But this was only the first trick. I had hold of among my other mythologies, for I also knew obedience, bringing sticks to the nest, food to the young, kisses to my bride. But I don't stop there. Stay with me. Listen. If I was a song that entered your heart, then I was the music of your heart that you wanted and needed, and thus wilderness bloomed there with all its followers, gardeners, and I'm stopped. Dead in my tracks. Okay. Followers, which include gardeners, lovers, people who weep for the death of rivers. And this was my true task, to be the music of the body. Do you understand? For truly the body needs a song, a spirit, a soul. And no less to make this work, the soul has need of a body. And I am both of the earth and I am of the inexplicable beauty of heaven, where I fly so easily. So welcome, yes. And this is why I've been sent. I think the sun is mostly risen behind me there. And this is why I have been sent to teach this to your heart. And so, early this morning, let me start over. I got this book, Simone Weil, Selected Works, First and Last Notebook, Supernatural Knowledge. I think I'm actually saying her name right now. I was actually getting this book in hopes that one, I'm going to say diary entry, that's not really what it was. More of a journal entry called... Guys, my mind's kind of like not wanting to cooperate. It's still kind of early. I don't know if I'm overstimulated by all the sounds and itches and the caffeine. I promise I barely had any. Oh yeah, the encounter. I wanted that to be in here, but it is not. But I did bookmark. Well, actually, I'm not sure if it's in here or not. I did look through the index, and I didn't see anything called The Encounter or Encounter The. But you never know where something could be hiding. Supposedly it was in addition, in one of the editions of this book, but maybe I got the wrong one, or a more modern one, where they don't include such things as the encounter. But I could always read it from my iPhone. But that's not the same, is it? But I do have something bookmarked here, which I thought was interesting. It's on page 50, Modern Life. There's not really a title. This book seems to be almost like a scrapbook of some of her thoughts. So it's not really tailor fit for a book per se, but it's still kind of cool. Modern life is given over to excess. Now keep in mind, both Mary Oliver and Simone Weil are philosophical, but Simone Weil is quite deep and detailed in ways that aren't necessarily poetic, but I know she has the capacity to be poetic because I did read The Encounter. Now this is really nothing like that, what I'm about to read here, but at first I wasn't going to read from this because this is just like too much in a way, but I'll show you what I mean, and I'm actually trying to pick something that doesn't reflect being too much, but it probably still is just a little bit for just casual reading, for like an enjoyment. for you to listen to and relax. This may not do that, just be aware, but we'll see. Modern life is given over to excess. Everything is steeped in it, thought as well as action, private life as well as public. Now, I warned you, this is kind of like a scrapbook of sorts, so some of it seems kind of discombobulated, but that's fine. Sport, championships, pleasure to the point of intoxication and nausea, fatigue to the point of passing out, etc., etc., etc. Hence the decadence of art. There is no more equilibrium. There is no more equilibrium anywhere. Which means that Le Corbusier's efforts are vain. I have no idea who that guy is. Which means that Le Corbusier's efforts are vain. ... The movement in Catholicism is a partial reaction against it. The Catholic ceremonies have at least remained intact, but then they are unrelated to the rest of life. Seek for an equilibrium between man and himself, between man and things. Every equilibrium has been upset. For example, between labor and the fruits of labor, even the peasants have been corrupted indirectly by speculation. There is no longer any visible relation between action and its results, so that even in action, man has become passive. This state of affairs must be even... Now, it's kind of hard to read. This state of affairs must be even be reflected. That's what it said. This state of affairs must even be reflected. There you go. Let me try this again. This state of affairs must even be reflected. But in what way? In love. Curious problem of historical materialism. Why is Platonic love, quote unquote, why is Platonic love so notably absent in our day? Courts of love, Dante, Petrarch, magic, Faust. It should be possible to make science also an art through this idea of equilibrium, with the conception of scale as intermediary. Very important, but not very clear yet. Quantity, under the form of repetition. Take the lever as symbol. And there's a whole bunch of words here that are probably in, I don't know, Greek, I can't tell what. Individualize the machine, ... Two tasks, to individualize the machine, science, popularization. So, yeah. After the collapse of our civilization, one of two things will happen. Either it will perish completely, like the ancient civilizations, except Greece and Rome, or else it will adapt itself to a decentralized world. It is not for us to prevent centralization, which is by definition irresistible, but to prepare for what will come after. To arrest this process of centralization is impossible. It intensifies automatically and grows like a snowball. Along that line, there is no limit, but only excess and its consequences. At present, these take the form of economic anarchy. We possess the appropriate form of power, electricity, she has there in parentheses, for individualizing the machine, but not the form for the machine. Therefore, starting from the machine tool, all the same, don't endow yourself with the mission. To begin with, there is every likelihood that you will die before making your voice heard. And even if you were listened to, ... Descartes indirectly helped to inflict on us the popular press, the wireless, etc., the aeroplanes, etc. Anyway, one will have lived, and there's ... after that. And that may be kind of deep reading for this video, but I thought I'd give you a little taste of it. It's quite, yeah, I like some of it some of the time. She is a Christian, but she seems to have some Christian critique. Like on page 155 here, she says, the rapid spread of Christianity was due to the fact that all those unfortunate people so longed for the end of the world. And how easy that is to understand. So, but I do believe she herself was a Christian. So, anyway, I don't know if there's much I could read from this that would serve as a really nice way to end. Because some of it's, kind of harsh but true, and that's fine. But I don't know if I want to end my video on a really deep philosophical note. Well, this is kind of cool. I'm not sure if this is her poem or not. And I'm not providing any context for why this is in here, but it sounds poetic. The lion is force, it is necessity. The virgin is justice and wisdom. The scales, this is the cross. The scorpion which dies from love of the light, the archer who is the light, the cornucopia, which I'm just murdering that, the cornucopia which is the plenitude of God, the water pourer which lavishes torrents of water, torrents of grace, the fish which swims in the water of grace, the lamb sacrificed from the beginning, the bull whose seed is our milk, the two twin beings who are a single divinity. The two twin beings who are a single divinity. The sacrificed lamb facing the cross. Lamb, scales, bull, scorpion, twins, archer, crab, cornucopia, lion, water pourer, virgin, fish, scales, lamb. The sacrificed lamb is opposite the cross. The fish is opposite the virgin. Yeah, this stuff gets a little deeper than I'm able to go. Sometimes I'll read it knowing I don't understand it, but I'm hoping just like a 4-year-old learns to understand English, maybe I'll understand more the language of her philosophy if I just learn to read it. Yeah, there's lots of deep stuff in here. Looks like this video has been going on here for about 30 minutes. I would like to read The Encounter, and I actually have that on my cover photo here on Facebook. An Encounter, but I have to read it from my phone because I couldn't find it in that book, so you'll have to excuse me here as I'm reading it from my phone. An Encounter by Simone Weil. And this is a journal entry. He entered my room and said, "You poor wretch, who understand nothing and know nothing, come with me and I will teach you things you have no idea of." I followed him. He led me into a church. It was new and ugly. You know the kind, and I added that part, or actually a guy by the name of Brad Jerzak added that. He led me before the altar and said, "Kneel." He probably didn't say it that way. Let's see. He led me before the altar and said, "Kneel." I told him, "I have not been baptized." He said, "Fall down on your knees before this place, with love, as before the place where truth exists." I obeyed. He led me out and up to a garret, from whose open window one could see the whole town, some wooden scaffoldings, and the river where boats were unloading. He made me sit down. We were alone. He talked. Now and then somebody else would come in, join the conversation, then go away again. It was no longer winter. It was not yet spring. The trees' branches were bare and without buds, in a cold air full of sunshine. The light rose, shone bright, and then faded, and the stars and the moon shone through the window. Then the dawn rose once again. Sometimes he paused and took bread from a cupboard, and we shared it. That bread truly had the taste of bread. I have never found that taste again. He poured wine for me and for himself, which tasted of the sun and of the soil on which that city was built. Sometimes we lay down on the wooden floor, and the sweetness of sleep descended on me. Then I woke up and drank the light of the sun. He had promised me teaching, but he taught me nothing. We talked in a rambling way about all sorts of things, as old friends do. One day he said to me, "Now go away." I threw myself down, clung to his knees, begged him not to send me away, but he flung me out toward the stairs. I descended them as if unconscious, as if my heart was torn in shreds. Excuse me. I think a mosquito tried to enter my mouth. I walked through the streets and then realized, but he flung me out toward the stairs. I descended them as if unconscious, as if my heart was torn in shreds. I walked through the streets and then realized that I had no idea where that house was. I have never tried to find it again. I saw that he had come for me by mistake. My place is not in that garret. It is anywhere, in a prison cell, in some bourgeois parlor hall full of trinkets and red plush, in a station wagon, in a station waiting room. No matter where, but not in that garret. Sometimes I cannot keep myself from repeating, in fear and compunction, a little of what he said to me. How am I to know if I remember it correctly? He is not there to tell me. I well know that he doesn't love me. How could he love me? But yet there is something deep in me, some point of myself, which cannot prevent itself from thinking, with fear and trembling, that perhaps, in spite of everything, he does love me. From Simone Weil, First and Last Notebooks. I think it's translated by Richard Rees. And that's what I got, First and Last Notebooks. It says what pages? 65 and 66, but I don't think this is the same book. Let's see if it's there. Oh, it isn't here. Oh my gosh. Okay. But it's not called it's actually called Prologue. Prologue is among the papers she left with Gustave Thibin on her departure for America in May 1942. There's a little introduction. Simone Weil left two almost verbally identical copies of this text. One of them was entitled and was preceded by this note: beginning of the book which should contain these thoughts and many others. It appears at the end of the second volume of the notebooks of Simone Weil, Routledge. The following copy, without the introductory note, but with the title Prologue, was among the papers she left with Gustave Thibon on her departure for America in May 1942. So from page 65. Now this could be translated differently, but I do like it that it's in here, and I'm reading it from a book. He came into my room and said, "You poor wretch, who understand nothing and know nothing, come with me, and I will teach you things you have no idea of." I followed him. He took me into a church. It was new and ugly. He led me before the altar and said, "Kneel." I keep reading that like he's talking to a dog or something. Like, he didn't do that. He took me into a church. It was new and ugly. He led me before the altar and said, "Kneel." I told him. Now, when Brad Jerzak reads this, he does a nicer job, but I'm going to get that flowing. I'm going to read this till I get it. Not in this video, but let me start over with this, and I'll just read it. As I read it, no, it'll have to work. Okay. You came into my room and said, "You poor wretch who understand nothing and know nothing, come with me and I will teach you things you have no idea of." And I followed him. He took me into a church. It was new and ugly. You know the kind. I added that. He led me before the altar and said, "Kneel." I told him, "I have not been baptized." He said, "Fall on your knees before this place with love, as before the place where truth exists." I obeyed. He led me out and up to a garret from whose open window one could see the whole town, some wooden scaffoldings, and their river where boats were unloading. He'd made me sit down. We were alone. He talked. Now and then somebody else would come in, join in the conversation, then go away again. It was no longer winter. It was not yet spring. The trees' branches were bare and without buds, in a cold air full of sunshine. The light rose, shone bright, and then faded, and the stars and the moon shone through the window. Then the dawn rose again. Sometimes he paused and took some bread from a cupboard, and we shared it. That bread truly had the taste of bread. I have never found that taste again. He poured wine for me and for himself, which tasted of the sun and of the soil on which that city was built. Sometimes we lay down on the wooden floor, and the sweetness of sleep descended on me. Then I woke up and drank the light of the sun. He had promised me teaching, but he taught me nothing. We talked in a rambling way about all sorts of things, as old friends do. One day he said to me, "Now go away." I threw myself down, clung to his knees, begged him not to send me away, but he flung me out towards the stairs. I descended them as if unconscious, as if my heart were torn in shreds. I walked through the streets, and then I realized that I had no idea where that house was. I have never tried to find it again. I saw that he had come for me by mistake. My place is not in that garret. It is anywhere in a prison cell, in some Borgias parlor full of trinkets and red plush, in a station waiting room. No matter where, but not in that garret. Sometimes I cannot prevent myself from repeating in fear and compunction a little of what he said to me. How am I to know if I remember it correctly? He is not there to tell me. I well know that he doesn't love me. How could he love me? And yet, there is something deep within me, some point of myself, which cannot prevent itself from thinking, with fear and trembling, that perhaps, in spite of everything, he does love me. So it is in this book. It paid to get this book, just for that journal entry. That's what I'm going to call it. I've heard it referenced as a journal entry, so. That was The Encounter by Simone Weil. Well, I think that does conclude this video. And it's gone on for like over 41 minutes now. I do have worship practice coming up here, so, or band practice, whatever you want to call it. Worship band practice. Got to be there in about 45 minutes, so I still have time. It's Mother's Day too, so happy Mother's Day. I celebrated that a few days ago, but I think we're going to do it again, of course. It's not like we're not going to celebrate it on Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers. I hope my poetry meant something to you. And, well, I think it's time to end the video. I've gone on quite long enough. Hope you enjoyed. Got a little sun yesterday. I did get my patio, or what do you want to call it? Balcony, deck. It's a balcony, but I got it full of those cigar plants that hummingbirds like. Copia or whatever. I don't know what you call them, but they got the little orange cones on them. And I've already seen the hummingbird yesterday. I think the same one multiple times, but I didn't get a new picture of him or video just yet. But I'm sure that's in the works coming up. Gonna have to water my plants every day before I go to work, so, and there's lots of them. So, well, no further ado, I do thank you for listening, and do remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you.